All right, record. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the When It Worked podcast. You're the host, Julian Leahy, and I'm really excited today to talk about franchises. And I've had a bit of an interest in the franchise business model for a while because franchises consistently outperform sole traders in a lot of cases. And there's a good reason for that. It's because they're a battle-tested business model where they've been through recessions and pandemics. They've been through all the ups and downs and they've come out and they're still going. And if you are about to set out on a particular business, you might want to consider franchises for that reason. They are a tried and tested model. And my next guest has been in the trenches for about 19 years, building up one of the most successful physical therapy franchises in the world, franchise or businesses in the world. Andy Zapata from Physical Therapy Now. Welcome to the When It Work podcast.
Julian, what an honor to be here. I am blessed and honored to be on your podcast, my friend.
And Andy, you've been doing this since 2003. I spoke to you before we started, and that's when you got your clinic. You know, you've just come out of school, and you formed your business. And what I wanted to ask you was, how long did it take you before you started to think, I'm onto something here? Maybe I could replicate this.
Great question, Julian. I was very lucky. I hit a couple of good consultants. I asked a lot of people a lot of questions during my first year. I didn't make any money my first year, but after asking and just asking as many people as possible, I remember I was probably 24 years old, just asking everybody if they can help me, if they knew anybody, trying to just ask questions. I guess it's the first way that I started realizing, I might be onto something here, because I didn't know what I didn't know at that time. I was, call it, ignorant is bliss. And I started with a lot of challenges. And I started getting people to tell me here and there how to do things. But within the first year, I had figured out how to make money. And within the first year, I said, in order for me to make money, and I didn't know anything about personal development. I hadn't read any books. I hadn't read any of the stuff that I read now that's so readily accessible. Remember, this was 19 years. I decided I was going to hire a therapist so that I can focus on marketing. Now I call it focus on growth, but at that time I was focused on marketing.
Is that in year one? The year one.
That was year one. I said, if I want to grow, I always had more passion for the business side of it, in truth, than the therapy part. I loved being a therapist. I love helping people, but I knew that if I wanted to help the masses, I couldn't trade my hours for dollars. I was trading minutes for dollars, hours for dollars. And I knew that, easy math was like, okay, if I work 8 hours, I can only make this much money. But if I hire somebody and I hire 4 therapists, then I can make this much money. And so I thought, okay, let's figure out the greater scheme. Let's go for the greater revenue producing system. And I figured it out. Within 3 years, I had already 3 clinics. And within the third year, Julian, how this whole franchise got started is that I started then teaching. After I did all the trial and error, I asked all the questions, I made all the mistakes, I lost a lot of money. Then I started helping other physical therapists go through the process so they didn't have to waste 3 years. Back then, I used to think, dude, don't waste 3 years. I'll help you get through in 3 months. And I did that for about 40 entrepreneurs and physical therapists. They used to pay me $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 just for consulting. And I was excited about helping people build their brand. I was so happy just to teach so they didn't have to go through the same challenges that I had. Well, what happened is within 3 years, I started saying, you know what? This is a very hot commodity. People want to buy clinics. This is incredible. I didn't even know about mergers and acquisitions. And I was in mergers and acquisitions because I started building them, getting them licensed, getting them accredited with the insurance companies. I used to, remember, I used to have handyman paint the place and put floors. And it was almost like flipping homes back then. And I started selling the whole clinic for $100,000, $200,000, $150,000 because I had all the contracts with the insurance companies. and people wanted the contracts. So I must have sold about 30 or 40 clinics between 2006 and 2010. I made very decent money. And in 2010, they put a moratorium in Florida. There was no more clinics for sale. I couldn't sell anymore because there was so many clinics. So the government put a moratorium on the clinics. So what I did is I had my original 3 clinics, and I focused on building the systems for those 3 clinics, because since my business was over, I couldn't sell any more clinics. I said, let me focus on the 3 that I have and let me create great systems. But what happened, fast forward 5 years, 2015 comes around, I have 5 clinics making great money. I have a wife, I have a beautiful family, I have some toys, and I have more than I ever dreamed of having in my life. I was very blessed. I figured out the marketing system. I had figured out the billing and collection system. And I said, what is it that I know how to do? And what's my next challenge in life? Because I felt like I was almost done with my challenges. I was secure, I was safe, I was comfortable, almost bored, to be honest. And I said, what is it that I know how to do? I said, I know how to build de novos, startups in physical therapy, and I know how to sell them. And I know how to do it very well. Well, 2016 comes around. I got an inspection from the federal government, knocks on my door. Inspection, federal government comes in and says, Andy, we need an inspection. They did an inspection, and I get 0 deficiencies. And the federal government comes up to me and says, hey, Andy, we want you to work for us. How did you pass this inspection? 0 deficiencies. All your clinics are with 0. We want you to come work for us. And I said, sure, why not? I want to understand, because at that point, I was already thinking, what's my next challenge in life? And I had already started thinking of opening a physical therapy franchise. And so I said, it would be amazing to think how the federal government would think so that I can help if I ever open up this franchise. Well, what I did is I really learned a lot of compliance, and I opened up my franchise. And it took me a whole year to develop. The rules and regulations of franchising are very complex. So lots of attorneys, lots of consultants, lots of questions again. And I started selling franchises in 2016, mid 2016. And since then, I've had 45 sales. We have over 500 people in the system. And just like everything else, it's a new industry for us. But we've learned incredible amounts of franchise rules and regulations. But what really makes a franchise work, and why franchising is so incredible business model. Because like you said, in franchise, if you have a good franchisor that has a great system, your chances of success are maybe 90% better, 80% better than if you were to try to do this on your own. Not only because they have the systems, but because of all the time that you're going to save from all the errors that they made that you don't have to make. So you're buying yourself lots of time when you buy a franchise, number one. That's why you're paying this dollars amount. That's why you pay the franchise fee. It's not just, what am I buying? You're buying a lot of experience, a lot of time. And then all the mistakes that they made, so you don't have to make them. But here's what I learned in franchising. Rule number one, it's not just about the model. It's about who's buying the franchise. That is the key. And I compare that to like playing a basketball game or a football game, and you want to pick the right players to win the game. That's the same thing with the franchise. You have to pick the right team, because not all franchises are for all people, right? And so one of the keys to success that I would recommend anybody looking for a franchise is make sure that this is something that you really want to do. And for the franchisors, some advice that I never got, make sure that the guys that are giving you those $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 checks are the right fit for your team so that you can win.
Absolutely. And people are going to ask, what do we need to do to get involved? If you were a physical therapist, what are the costs, etc., to join, and what are the benefits in terms of marketing support, lead generation, and you've got all the billing and stuff. Just run us through that, and I want to talk about the billing and all that stuff, because that's pretty cool as well, if you can outsource all of that.
Yeah, so let me give you some of the numbers. Our numbers are very simple. We charge right now a $47,000 franchise fee. That's for all the systems, the trademark, the know-how, the education, the support. And it's turnkey. So from the minute that you get us this, we hire the general contractors. We help you with the site selection. We help you with ordering the equipment. We can either do it for you, or we can help you so that you're more hands-on in building your clinic. It's up to you how you want to develop it. It's not that hard to develop a physical therapy center. It's 4 walls and a couple of equipment. It kind of looks like a gym, so it's very easy. And there's a 6% franchise fee, and that's all the money we make. That's what's on the contract. 6% royalties, $47,000 franchise fee. There's also a 2% marketing collateral fee that we've never enacted, but we have the right as a franchisor to enact the 2% if we feel that there's a great marketing opportunity in a certain area. We've never done it. I don't anticipate doing it anytime soon unless we have a rock star advertisement campaign, either on TV or radio. But right now, we're holding off on that until we have more territories. But here's what I'll say about the marketing support. I guarantee you that we have probably the most influential marketing system on the planet for physical therapists, not only for business, because now I teach other entrepreneurs and other businesses hire me for me to teach them how we drive so much business to our centers. And it's pretty simple, but it's been with the help of Tony Robbins, Sean Callaghan, Dale, Jay Abraham, all these incredible speakers and motivators and strategists on the planet. Well, guess what? I've been with them. I've learned from them. I've strategized and created this amazing influence formula to get more business from physicians and doctors and hospitals and insurance companies. And so I guarantee you that it's not just, hey, dropping off a couple cupcakes or cookies or flyers. That doesn't work anymore. You have to learn how to talk. You have to learn the influence. You have to have the right energy, the right tonality every time you go and speak to one of these referring physicians or doctors or attorneys that are going to send you business. So it's costing me, and this is why I know it's probably very unique, number one, because I talk to these guys. These guys are my mentors. And I know that there's no other physical therapists that are in their Rolodex, number one. And number two, it's cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars in seminars, one-on-one coaching, that we've been able to create this for my franchise. So marketing support is really proprietary, but I will tell you this. It's what we call influence mastery with integrity. So how do you get more business with integrity? And once you learn my formula, it's a strategist formula. It's a behavioral formula. It's how to go from hello to yes with integrity to get more business. And it works in every single business. And I guarantee you, hands down, when I show this to people, they are in awe. I've been doing it for years. And nobody's even heard of something even closely similar to what we have created for marketing. And all the franchises are doing very well when they implement it. And some, when they don't implement it, then it's a challenge and they don't do as well. But that's why initially I said step number one is getting the right person that is for this right franchise, because there's a lot of fear of rejection and fear of failure that people have to deal with, a lot of scarcity versus abundance mindset that people have to deal with. We were talking offline about that. And if I can teach this formula to somebody and they're still in fear of rejection or fear of failure, they might not perform. Well, guess what? If they don't perform, then they don't get the same results.
Yeah, 100%. And you talked about some of your relationships that you have with the insurance companies and things to generate business. Are you able to tell us about your secrets, or is that do we got to pay to see that?
It's going to cost you $47,000. No, I'm just kidding. I will tell you this. It goes back to being able to provide and speak about providing value. Because if you can't if you can't be congruently unique and you can't express to the insurance companies why you are more valuable than the other person, then there's a challenge. There's a challenge in your communication skills. There's a challenge in your presentation. There's a challenge in your influence skills. But number one is how to communicate. Number two is once you develop a certain amount of units, it's very easy to go to an insurance and say, hey, listen, we have 50 units in this territory, and this is why you want to use this. And very simple, I'll tell you a secret. Just like the biggest insurance company told me on the planet right now, they said, Andy, I'd rather deal with one person that has 50 centers than not 50 centers all trying to get a raise every single year, giving me problems, or I can't control them. So
Yeah.
when you buy a franchise, the insurance companies want franchises. They want ahead because they say, hey, this guy's just as vetted as we are, and he's protecting us because he doesn't want to lose his contract. And there's some supervision from the CEO, from the organization, to make sure that nobody is abusing the system, overutilizing, which is abusing, or doing things incorrectly that they're not supposed to do. Aside from that, they get one call from one person. And if the insurance company ever has a problem, they don't have to educate 50 people,
Yeah.
educate one guy and re-roll down the system. So it's very easy for the insurance companies. And I feel bad for my colleagues who are out there that are owning physical therapy centers and are competing with us, because we're taking a lot of contracts and we're having these exclusive contracts now that I'm fighting for my franchises to have, because now I can say to the insurance, hey, I know you want to have 100 people, but you can have 100 of me, and it's one person that you got to deal with, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the type of
Absolutely.
relationship I tell with the insurance company. That's a giant big secret I have never let out of the box, but for your podcast, there you go.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really is.
and that's the access that with Andy and this model you'll get. And if you're an individual, you're never going to have that kind of influence to be able to be deal with the insurance people and the doctors and all that. And just on your business, Andy, when you started it, there was a couple of big franchise companies like PT Solutions and Apex Network, and you've pretty much been able to outgrow some of these more established models. What was the big point of difference that you had? Is it just the
Yeah,
Andy Zapata factor?
that's part of it. Influence, energy transference, right? We call this. There's a lot of energetic transference from my presentations that gets people excited. There's a lot of enthusiasm when I talk. That's one of the things that we teach: how to talk with enthusiasm and passion, and that gets people excited. It just does. It's old. This is old teachings, right, about enthusiasm. But I think one of the things that makes us different is that these companies are corporate centers and they only have so much money. I'm using what they call OPM, other people's money, because I have one unit, the other franchise has 2 or 3 units. And so we're building almost like a transformer of a corporation. And that's why franchising is very powerful, because
Mm,
it's OPM, other people's money, other people's investment. And when you have other people's money and 50,000 here and 50,000 here and 50,000 here and 50,000 here, it's not 200,000 coming out of my pocket or out of my investor's pocket. It's everybody else putting little pieces into the pot and creating a great franchise system versus a great corporate system. And not to say that corporate systems don't work; they're very powerful, but they're managed by publicly traded companies
slow.
or
Yeah.
private equity, and so there's a lot of red tape, and there's a lot of
Mm,
just challenges with making decisions when you're a big publicly traded company or private equity firm, right?
yeah.
But when we're independent, we make decisions
Agile.
fast amongst the owners. Yeah.
Yeah. And who would you say your biggest competitor is, Andy?
I mean, we have a few corporate centers that we're tailing and we're chopping at their feet. But for example, in Florida, we have a great company. Some of my competitors are very good. We have a company called Cora. We have another company called Select, and we have another company called Physical. These are probably the biggest three competitors down here in Florida and Texas and Arkansas, where we're at. But there's probably like I would say a good 50 companies that are competing to be at the top. And we talk amongst the CEOs and the owners and the private equity firms. We're all kind of friends and we talk a lot. But I have people on my board that have sold their practice for $550 million, and now they're on my board. So we have incredible advisors that are helping PT now grow, strategizing, and we have one thing that nobody else has, which is one of the things we have is technology. We own our own software company. So when we own our own software, we're able to analyze our own data and give our doctors the data and give our therapists the data and give the owners the data, so that we can create better strategies faster once you understand the data of what's happening not only in your practice but outside of your practice. So one of the things that I'm looking at probably 50% of my day is looking at data so that I can manipulate the data to perform better. And once you have that, then you can perform a lot like a high performance sports team, I would call it.
Awesome. And Andy, what's the onboarding process? Do you have a salesperson, or do you speak to the potential franchisees?
Yeah, I usually get on the third or fourth interview. I have a whole team that vets them, make sure that this is something that they want. Because for us, it's not just making a sale. Like, I don't really care about making sales. I want to make money with great people. That's my motto. I want you to make as much money. I want to make money. I want to have a legacy of a company. I want you to own a piece of that legacy so that we can give this to our children if we want to, or leave it for us, for generations to come. So for me, it's about having the right people. So we have a team that vets them, and they do about 3 interviews with them to make sure they have the right mindset, that they have the right funds, that this is the right career for them. Because what we want is somebody who's going to be here for 20 years with us, playing in this field and making a lot of money. And then I jump in at the end and I say, hey, how are you? My name is Andy, and I ask you a series of questions. It's probably an hour interview to make sure that you're right to fit, that you are the right fit for us, and that number one, I'm the right fit for you. Because if I'm not, then this is a 10-year relationship, is what the contract says, and I want to make sure that if we're going to get married for 10 years or more, that number one, that you love humanity, that you're in love with humanity, which is my number one rule. That you're in contribution with your community, with yourself, with your family, with everybody around you, and that you have that enthusiasm just like me, and that you're gonna play to win, and not play to lose, like we were talking a little bit earlier before the podcast started. And that's what I want: good energy, good-hearted, honest, integrous people that want to win and that are good at playing the game.
Awesome. And I don't know how many physical therapists watch this podcast, but if there are any, or they do find it, your website is physicaltherapynow.com, and you've got a page there about the franchise opportunity. And on there, you have a form, pre-qualification form, where you can get into Andy's system and chat more with somebody about getting involved with Physical Therapy Now. Thanks for coming on, Andy. That was extremely interesting.
Julian, what an honor. Thank you so much. Super excited for you. And thank you again for allowing me to be in your podcast. How exciting. Thank you.
My pleasure. And thanks everyone for listening and watching. I'm going to wrap it up, and I'll see you very soon on another episode. Thanks, Andy.
Boom. We did it.
I'll send you an email when it goes out.
Yeah. And if you can, send me the MP4, because I will send this across all my, probably have a good 97,000 physical therapists that I can send this to. So if you send it to me, I will send it to them as well in an email.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll whip up some something for you to send and post and all of that. And yeah, I'll email you very soon. Thanks again, Andy, and have a great day.
Thank you, Julian. Have a great day, my friend. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye.